Get your books and show it. Okay. So, what was the book that you read this semester?
So the book I read over winter break was I'll Give You the Sun by Jen D. Nelson.
Okay. So, give me a brief summary of the book.
Okay, so this book is mainly, I think that the theme mainly is about forgiveness and redemption. A lot about love as well. It's about these two siblings. They're twins. It's a Jude who is a female, and then it's Noah who is a male. So they're like one of each twins, and they basically in the beginning of the book they have such a strong bond that it kind of feels like nothing could break them apart. But then as they grow older, they like face real life problems, and their parents like are divorced, and one goes lives with his mom, the other goes live with his dad, and so they basically end up growing apart. And once they get back together, or like once they meet up, there's like a lot of miscommunication, there's a lot of problems, they have their differences, and it's just a really good book. And through life and growing up, they have their misunderstandings and misconceptions, so I think, yeah.
Okay. So, provide an analysis of the protagonist, antagonist, and other important characters.
Okay, so I would say Noah and Jude are the protagonist, because they're obviously they're the face of the book. But I would also say that they are the antagonists due to all their fighting that they have against one another, since they're always arguing. They are siblings, they do argue pretty often. So I would say that they are the protagonist, both of them, and the antagonist. Other important characters would include people like Brian, the mom named Diane, the dad, and Oscar, Oscar is, I believe, is Jude's boyfriend, and then Brian is Noah's boyfriend. And they have their own ways of meeting. It's very special the way they met. And they have they create a very strong bond, and the way that the author made the characters is like very relatable, and the way they think and the way they react to certain situations is like very real. So yeah.
Okay, so represent the theme of the book, but give me a quote.
Okay, so like I said earlier, I think that the theme of the book is mostly about like love and forgiveness and kind of like redemption. So the quote I picked is, "This is what I want. I want to grab my brother's hand and run back through time." So basically, Jude is talking about how Noah and her were fighting, and she wanted to be forgived because she felt like she was lonely, and all she wanted was her brother, because they were fighting due to lack of like communication, and they weren't on the right track, they weren't on the same page, so they ended up having like a little fight or argument. And so this is why Jude is like saying, I want my brother back. The only thing I want is to hold his hand. I need my brother. But Noah is mad at her, so that's not really like a choice or like someone she could go to at the moment. So it really shows how like she wishes, which is kind of like forgiveness, or like if Noah did forgive her, like they would be okay. And it's also love too, because when you have a bond like that, there's love involved. So yeah.
Very good. Okay. So, provide a quote that characterizes an important character in your book.
Okay, so basically, it's Noah who says, it's the quote from Noah, and the quote is, "It's time for second chances. It's time to remake the world." So basically, he's saying that it's time for second chances, showing a lot of his personality, talking. It's basically showing how he gives second chances. He does believe that people make mistakes, and like it's an honest mistake. So he thinks that it's time to like remake the world. Like it's time for a clean slate, a new beginning. It's just leave all the bad in behind and just forgive and kind of forget.
Okay. Use a quote that describes the setting of your novel.
Okay, so the quote I used is, I used up all my drawings. It's hundreds of miles, and everyone is in Northern California has to worry about getting tangled up in it. So basically, here it talks about like they really like to surf and like go to the beaches around here in Northern California. So their setting takes place in Northern California, and they live in a little town, I believe, called Lost Clove, and basically that's pretty much the setting.
Okay. Provide a quote that illustrates the climax of the plot.
Okay, so the quote I picked is, "This is her revenge, and wipe them out one by one until every trace of my sister's talent is gone from the world and only mine is left. I go into Jude's room and take the portrait, rip it into shreds like confetti." So this is where the climax happens, because as the story is going, they're arguing, and this is where the first argument happens. And because Jude ended up being mad at Noah because Noah grew up with his mom, because they didn't grow up together, they grew up separately. And so Noah grew up with his mom, and Jude, when she was with her mom, she felt like, that Noah was a favorite because she was with Noah all the time. And that wasn't the case, but, Jude had that jealousy, like that. She didn't feel the love from her mom. So I guess Jude was, she was
Taking it out on Noah.
Yeah, taking it out on Noah. And so basically Noah's saying like, oh, this is her revenge. And so since Jude got her revenge, Noah wants to get his revenge because he feels like Jude betrayed her for no reason when it wasn't his fault. And so he basically gets Jude is a very artistic character. She likes to like sculpt things and stuff like that and draw like art. She's really into art. And so he says, what better way to like make her more mad and be on worse terms than to like rip up her portrait that she took of her English teacher. It was someone important in her life. And so yeah, that was his revenge, and that's when it all started, and problems escalated because if he didn't take action of that, none of the if he were to do something differently, like be the more mature person, it would obviously have a different outcome. And since Noah did this, it led to the outcome it did.
Okay. Provide a quote from your favorite part of the book.
Okay, so my favorite part of the book, well, there's a lot of parts in the book that I really liked because the book was really relatable and it was like so surreal, and it just really was heartwarming. But one of the quotes that I really, really liked was, "No one tells you how gone really is or how long it lasts." And so here I feel like it really does relate to Jude and Noah, because they're like always fluctuating. They're like one leaves, they fight, they leave, they fight, and then they make up. So I really think that that's a good example, and I feel like it relates to real life world, because a lot of people do leave your life and then come back, and then things just get crazy, and it really does happen, which is I really like about the meaning of the quote and how it relates to the book and in real life.
Ooh, love that. Okay. Explain why you think one of the characters made a specific decision that altered the plot.
I believe it was both Jude and Noah, because like I said earlier, if Noah didn't take action like the way he did, there would have been a different outcome in the book. And same thing goes with Jude. So if Jude never made Noah mad, Noah wouldn't have contributed to the conflict, which in the end made things worse for both of them.
Would you recommend this book?
I would highly recommend this book, especially if you're someone that enjoys like real life problems or can relate to those type of things, like family and sibling type of problems, or like even just the love or the bond that you might have with a sibling or family member in your house. Not only that, but the author really does leave the reader like in a way where you're like, you don't know what's going to happen next, but you have a feeling, you have like, what might happen next, which I really think keeps the reader interested on keeping on reading, which I really did like about that. And also the formatting of the book was very different compared to other books, because the book goes between back, so it has like flashbacks. So then it has like Noah at age 13 and a half, and then Jude at 12 years and a half or 6 years. So I really like that about the book. It's very different, and it's not something you see like in every book. I think it's a very like ordinary and like rare.
What is good about the book and why is it a good read?
Well, like I said before, it's a really good read. I really enjoy the things and the topics it talks about, and yeah.
Are there any negative aspects of the book?
The only negative, well, it goes for a negative and positive aspect, but it's like the back and forth flashbacks because they can get a little confusing when reading. But if as long as like you read and you analyze through the text, I think you really could understand the book. And I feel like as you read more, it answers more questions throughout the book that you might have. Yeah.
Love that. All
Thank
right.
you.